On a snowy road in the middle of the night, my young grandchild came to my house. A strange baby on a small back. What does that mean? When I was speechless, my grandchild said in a thin voice, "Daddy, borrow the hospital bill." On the other hand, my husband exclaimed, "It's impossible." I don't think there's a way to say that. My husband took a surprising action when I was surprised. My name is Lucia. The 63-year-old is having a hard time going up and down the stairs lately. My husband just retired from work at the age of 65. From now on, we talk about how we want to do various things. For the time being, I'm going to walk every day to stop my physical strength from declining. Fortunately, this is a bit of a rural area. There are few cars and people, and the air is delicious. It's a great place to take a walk. I thought that retirement would be lonely, but it is not because my daughter and her family live nearby. My daughter, Haley, is a 35-year-old mother of one. My granddaughter, Shayla, is 6 years old and has just started elementary school, and she is very cute. My son-in-law, Roger, is a bit unfriendly and seems to avoid our family. But if my family is close, I try not to worry about that. My daughter and her husband are the main breadwinners of the family, and her husband, Roger, is a full-time house husband. I think it's fine for my daughter, but I'm worried that it's going to be hard. If my daughter is a housewife, I want to help her in various ways, but if my son-in-law is a house husband, I can't do that. If I say too much, I will be thought of as an annoying person, but it is difficult to maintain a sense of distance if you do nothing and leave it alone. One day, something unsettling happens. When I came home from shopping, my grandchild Shayla was in front of the house for some reason. It's not impossible to walk from my daughter's family to my house, but it's quite a distance for children. Moreover, my grandson was carrying a school bag on his back. My grandchild came home from school with a school bag that was too big for a small first grader, and it was on a hot day before the summer holidays. "Well, Shayla, what's wrong?" "Daddy told me not to come into the house, so I came here." What? I was confused as to what it meant, but my grandchild was pale, so I went into the house to cool her down anyway. My husband is out when I go shopping, so there is no one at home. "How long have she been here?" She gulped down the cold tea I served. "I understand your mother is on business, but why did your father not let you enter the house?" "I don't know, but he said he was busy, so I couldn't enter." "Ha, couldn't, why? Just because you're busy doesn't mean you shouldn't go into your own house. What's more, I can't keep it out in such a blazing sun." Anger was building up. "When I get better, I'll go home with my grandma, and I'll tell your dad." I was hesitant because he was a son-in-law, but this is not going to happen. It's a case that should not be kept silent. I headed home with grandchild, who nodded, and the front door suddenly opened before I could ping-pong. "Bye. Hey." Saying this, a strange woman came out waving her hand. "Who is that?" Passing by me and my grandchild, who were suddenly taken aback, she left. I hurriedly jumped into the front door and found Roger there with a surprised face. "Hey Roger, what are you doing with this kid out? Did you bring a woman to your daughter's absence?" Contrary to my angry self, my son-in-law frowned disgruntled and replied, "Huh. Don't come in and say something nonsense. She is just a sales lady." I told her I didn't need a water filter, but she was persistent, so I told her I was going to talk to her and kick her out. "Hey, sales lady. Ma!" That's right. Roger turned his back. So then, why did you lock out your child? Because you were busy. I did something I needed to do. Haley asked me to repair the shelves, but my hands were full at the wrong time. Hey, Shayla. Saying that, Roger called his child. She shook her body. You know, Daddy said, wait a minute, why didn't you go to the house over there instead of waiting? Well, I've been waiting, but it's hard to get in and it's hot. If I tell you to wait, don't be troublesome. Hey. He is so foul-mouthed that he can't keep silent when she is frightened, so I try to stop him. But don't be selfish, I'm the one raising Shayla. I don't want you to interfere in my child rearing. He glared at me. It's true that I was in the position of a grandmother, and when I was raising my children, I used to think, I don't want the outfield to make a fuss about this or that. As someone who has experience raising children, I can't say anything when I'm told not to interfere. Thank you, Grandma, she said, and she was sad with waving her hand. My anxiety about whether it is really okay is correct. The same thing happened many times after that. I couldn't keep quiet, so I contacted my daughter, but she said, Roger takes care of the house, so I can concentrate on my work, and I can't live without my work, so I have nothing but gratitude for Roger. I believe in my husband when it comes to childcare, so don't talk about it. When I took the plunge and told them that the woman had come out of the house, she said, What are you worried about? I thought there were a lot of elderly people in the countryside, but there are a lot of them here. I've refused many times, but I'm persistent. However, there was a visible change in my daughter's house. During the summer holidays, my grandchild came to our house more often. Daddy told me to go outside, or I'll skip my meal. What? When her daughter is away on a business trip, my son-in-law seems to lock her out of the house. Even though it's summer vacation, I can't go to my friend's house every day. However, it's too hot to kill time in the neighborhood park. There is no lunch, and there is no dinner unless she listens to what he says. That's too bad, he exclaims in anger. I can't stand it anymore. Auntie will tell Daddy and Mommy I clenched my fists to preach, but my grandchild hurriedly came to stop me. Stop. If you do that, Daddy will be in a bad mood again, and Mommy is busy with work, but it will bother Mummy. Is this the line of a first grader? At this age, I can't believe that I can see her parents' complexion so much. I'm so sorry that I can cry. Let's talk to my daughter seriously once. I thought so I called my daughter, but she wouldn't deal with me because she was busy. While I was thinking about what was going on, summer was over, autumn had passed, and the cold season had arrived in the blink of an eye. I wonder what those kids are doing. As I watched the snow fall from inside the house, I couldn't help but mutter. My grandchild is now 7 years old, but she has recently stopped coming. If it doesn't come, that's what I'm worried about. I can't get in touch with my daughter at all. I don't care if you are bothered, let's break into the house once. While thinking about this, I casually looked out the window. What? Surprised by what suddenly came into view, I hurriedly jumped out. Hey, what's wrong? I ignore my husband's suspicious face and goes outside, forgetting to put on my top. Shayla. To my surprise, my granddaughter was standing in front of the house. It feels bright because of the snow, but the time is midnight, when the date will change soon. It's not a good time for elementary school students to walk around. Yet, even with her jacket on, she was still standing there with her teeth rattling. Did you expect to walk this snowy road from home? Just because it's rural doesn't mean it's completely inaccessible to cars. I was horrified that it was slippery on a snowy road. What's the matter at this time? No. Go inside sooner. I pulled my grandchild's hand, but she shook her head. Shayla. Money. What? Lend me money. What? It was at that moment that I was surprised by the unexpected words. Ha! Whew, yes, yes. To my surprise, I heard a baby crying from my grandchild's back. What? My throat is about to dry up from a series of surprises. I hurriedly looked at my grandchild's back and saw a baby on her back who was dressed thickly so that it would not be cold. Wait a minute, baby. What's going on? I haven't heard that my daughter was pregnant. If you can hold a baby, baby's neck will be sitting, and a baby should be 4 months old. In the 4 months before that, I didn't see that my daughter was pregnant or give birth, and I hadn't heard anything about it. What do you mean? I forgot that it was outside in the middle of the night and screamed involuntarily. What are you doing? Go inside now. I was in complete panic until my husband came to see how we were doing. When I got back to myself, I hurriedly let my grandchildren in, give them something warm to drink in a warm room, and make sure the baby doesn't get cold. At first, my grandchild said, if I don't go home early, Daddy will, but she was finally relieved after drinking warm milk. When I asked, what's the matter, tears welled up in my grandchild's eyes. Daddy said, there's no money, so he told me to borrow some money from you for the fee of hospital. What? What do you mean? The cost of the hospital. It's like the baby has a fever. What? If you put your hand on the baby's forehead in a hurry, it is indeed a little hot. However, babies have a high body temperature, so we don't know exactly what it is. You know, this kid is Daddy's child. What, so your mother's child? No, it's not my mommy's child. What? I don't know what it is anymore, my grandchild says to me in confusion. Mom, she's been late coming home lately for an important job, so she's been away on a business trip since yesterday. I see. Then today a woman came in with this baby, and she was an important customer of Daddy's and told me to take care of the baby because she was busy. It's Daddy's child, so take care of it. OMG. I'm sorry, it's a secret. If he find out that I told you that this baby was Daddy's child, I'll be scolded again. I was tired of screaming, so I let out a weak voice. What does that mean? So I told my dad that the baby was in a lot of pain, and the woman and my dad told me to take a baby to the hospital. Daddy is busy and doesn't have that kind of money, so I told my grandma to borrow. Say, did you get kicked out? Yes. Such a stupid son-in-law, involuntarily exclaimed. I cried for my grandchild. Calm down, you idiot. I was reprimanded by my husband. So my grandchild, this time she saw my husband. Unlike me, she is a little uncomfortable with my husband, who doesn't talk much. Well, my husband is usually stuffy. However, she does her best and says to my husband that it is difficult to say. Grandpa, please lend me the baby's hospital bill. Oh, she's about to cry. My husband, can't you put on a kinder face? When I thought about it, he exclaimed, it's impossible, so why do you say that? She couldn't stand it and finally started crying. Still, but it looks like the baby is having a hard time, so please mustering up the courage to say. At this time, it doesn't matter whose child the baby is. if you abandon your grandchildren and babies here, you will be not a woman. Just when I was about to say something to my husband. Hey, call a taxi, my husband told me first. Huh. Wait. Hurry up. Oh yes. Bye. Wait. I panicked and called a taxi, and my husband instructed me to take him to the emergency pediatrician. I won't lend you money, but don't worry, you won't go to the hospital, and your grandmother, who is a specialist of raising children, will take the baby to the hospital. But I'm going to get ready for the bath now, so Shayla can take a bath and get to the core. Okay. My husband says with a spirit that does not say whether it is or not. My grandchild and I could only nod our heads. As soon as I arrived at the hospital, the baby was examined. The doctor said that the baby must have had a fever due to the cold. I was told to rest, got some medicine for the baby, and went home. I don't even know where the baby is, so my health insurance doesn't work. The doctor's eyes were black and white too. Anyway, I paid a good amount of money. Originally, the cost of medical examinations and medicines for babies was very cheap in the municipality around here. Are you saying that you don't even have that stupid son-in-law? I'll settle it later. More and more angry. By the time I arrived home, the date had long since changed, and my grandchild, who was away with my husband, was gone. When I came home with the baby, she woke up in a panic and asked anxiously, "Where's the baby?" What a kind child to worry more about others than herself, even in such a situation. Tears come to my eyes involuntarily. So, my husband, reassure her by showing you're even one of those sullen faces. But unexpectedly, she hugs my husband tightly. When I looked at her, she was smiling. "Grandpa, the baby is okay. Good to hear, we were so worried about the baby." Idiot. Why should I worry about someone else's baby? Because you were worried and that I wasn't cold or hungry, and that you were going to read me a picture book. I didn't do that. When she said to me innocently about my husband's situation, hey, with a grin, my husband bent his mouth. But his cheeks are loose. And the next day, before I could move, my husband acted. First, I called my daughter, Haley. "What is it, father? I'm busy at work right now." He yelled, "Come home now, stupid girl," and hung up the phone. Wow, make more phone calls. What do you want? Did Shayla go there? What's going on with the baby? It was Roger who came out in a sleepy voice. What a way to kick out two young children in the middle of the night in heavy snow and sleep peacefully. "Come to my house now, idiot," he shouted again and hung up the phone. Just before that, he shouted again. "Bring the woman who is with you now, or you wouldn't know what will happen. Watch your back." Wow, it's so powerful. I could imagine my son-in-law turning pale on the other end of the phone. Then, a few hours later, my daughter flew back from a business trip. What was he doing, my son-in-law, who came at a time not much different from my daughter, and another woman? The three of them are sitting upright in front of my husband, standing with his arms crossed. The woman who came with my son-in-law. I thought I had seen her somewhere, so I clapped my hand. "Oh, it's the sales lady the other day." "Yes, isn't she the woman who came out of the house where she locked my grandchild out in the summer?" Oh, I feel like I already understand something. With an awkward look on face, my daughter Haley looked up. "Well, father, what on earth is this?" "You must shut up." "Yes." Haley knows that when her reticent father gets angry, it's when he's really angry. At the words of my husband, I straightened my back and fell silent. Well, why am I being made to sit upright? The son-in-law, who still did not know the fear of my husband, said so disapprovingly. So when my husband crouches down and glares at my son-in-law, and he says, "Oh, I love sitting like that," he says, "Son-in-law, don't lick the power of the old man. Well, our people are special. Well, here's a thick envelope." Saying this, my husband took out an envelope without hesitation. A 4-size document issued. It's the result of Roger's background check. What? All the adults, except her husband, raised their voices of surprise. Of course, I raised my voice. How long have you been doing that? I asked for it when my grandchild was locked out in the middle of summer and said she saw a sales lady. Sales lady. Even though he was not born before the war. And that's where she's going to appear, Taylor. What? Then the sales lady made a strange voice. Well, of course you're not a sales lady, you're Roger's cheating partner, aren't you? What? Haley is surprised by my husband's words. I wonder if she really thought she was a sales lady. Too dull. Roger and a woman named Taylor look awkward. Roger, you're in a good position, and you let your daughter do the work, and you're at home and you're having an affair. I don't know what you're going to do with my grandchild. Come on. I don't know, what are you talking about? The moment when Roger was about to blurt out, my husband punched the floor. The floor cracks and Roger twitches. Oops, excuse me, there was a bug. Saying that, my husband blows on his fist. I don't care, but fix the floor properly, father. I'm sorry I didn't hear you well, but the woman next to you is your cheating partner, isn't she? Oh, isn't that right? What? My husband looks into Roger's face with a very bad face. That's right. She is my cheating partner. The son-in-law, who turns his face away, is drenched in sweat. Did you let me work and have an affair? You say I'm going to protect the house and the kids, but you're not protecting them at all. Surprised and angry, my daughter stood up. It's going to be complicated, so you have to sit down. Yes. However, my daughter returns to sit with the voice of my husband's voice. So Taylor, you're married too, aren't you? What? A woman looks up in surprise at my husband's words. At the same time, it was the son-in-law who raised his voice. You said you already divorced? Did you lie to me? Wow, we were going to break up. Does that mean you haven't broken up yet? What the fuck? Don't be bossy even though you have a wife and child. This is a quagmire. A woman who knew he had a wife and child had a relationship with him, and a man who had an affair while having a wife and children. Arguments between scum are like this. Oh, I don't think the baby is your husband's, not me. Oh, I thought it was funny because I was trying to make sure I couldn't do it. It's already a terrible story. Roger gets mad, and the woman also gets mad. Shut up. It doesn't matter to you if I'm married or whose child is. After all, it's just a relationship that seeks stimulation. What? It's okay, I'm going to break up with you. Your husband will return to you, so it doesn't matter to me anymore. What? My daughter, who is confused by the sudden story. However, my husband opens his mouth gravely. It's irrelevant, and there's no way we're going to say goodbye. Fair enough, yes. Haley, what are you going to do with alimony? Oh, alimony? For divorce. There's a lot of evidence and I'll work with you if you want to claim alimony from the two of them. Oh yes, of course I will. It was then that she finally knew what she had to do, and she nodded vigorously. What do you mean? My daughter said to my son-in-law, who did not understand. I'm divorcing you, I'm going to charge alimony for you both, and I'm going to charge child support for Roger. Why? I'm breaking up with this woman. You don't have to get a divorce. You don't know about that, I have to break up with you. No, wait a minute, I can't work anymore. I don't care. Housework is a fine job. Those who do not work shall not eat, fools. At the end, my daughters shout. Oh, no. Roger, who collapses the sitting position and droops, and the woman who has an affair. Just as getting silent, his grandchild Shayla, who was in the other room, peeked in. Are you done talking? It's over, Shayla. Go to mommy's place. My daughter, who answers with a tired face and reaches out to her daughter. Shayla trotted up to him and hugged her mother. Well, no, she doesn't. She went through and hugged her grandfather, who was standing next to me. Grandpa, I'm hungry. Oh yes. Then Grandpa should make something. Yay, I want noodle. Okay, let's boil it and drop the egg. Egg. They walked away to the kitchen in good spirits, but I don't know what to do with this devastation. My daughter is stunned because she doesn't know what to do with her outstretched hand. A son-in-law who keeps muttering, I'm not bad, I'm not bad, I'm not bad, I'm not bad. A woman named Taylor who is also stunned. What should I do? My husband will find out. The baby's cry reached my ears as I smiled bitterly, and I left the three of them and headed for the baby. Afterwards, I asked a lawyer who knew my husband, and my daughter was successfully divorced. Of course, my daughter has custody of her child, and it has been decided to pay alimony and child support in a lump sum. The ex-groom was crying to my daughter until the end, saying things like, I was lonely because you were busy with work, don't be silly. My daughter replied. He said he didn't have any money, but his parents paid for him instead. It seems that he is saying that he will spend his whole life to refund the money, but I wonder if a person who is in a state of absent-mindedness will really work. In the end, as expected, it was a former son-in-law who was kicked out of his parents' house after being withdrawn, got lost on the street, and went missing. By the way, the woman who was having an affair was also found out by her husband, and that was also divorced. The baby was taken in by her husband, and I'm sure the baby would be happier that way. Just because both spouses happen to be on a business trip, they won't have an affair with their baby. The ex-groom and the woman are ridiculous. Speaking of my daughter, she was harshly lectured by my husband and reflected fiercely. She strongly declared, I'm going to deal with my child properly, so I'm sure she'll be okay in the future. However, it would be difficult to be single, so we decided to live together at home. Until our grandchild grow up, my husband and I will be supporting them. I thought that raising children would be a difficult day, but I was actually looking forward to it. After all, I thought that I need to have something fun, and when I looked at my husband, he was happily playing Othello with his grandchild with a sloppy face. My husband, who has always been blunt with his daughter and wife, has been exposed as being very weak with his grandchild. Even if you have been married for a long time, there are aspects that you don't know, and I laughed when I saw such my husband.